I studied economics in college, which Santa Barbara didn't have like a finance or business sort of degree. They had an economics and accounting, which really wasn't my jam and wasn't what I was looking to do. But I felt economics kind of had this blend of macro thinking, like what are the big forces shaping our world, but enough of that sort of micro managerial stuff about how does that impact a business? How does that impact people's behavior and day-to-day decision making? So just was cruising along doing that, was interested in startups. This was sort of like early on when I think the big thing that sort of happened that sticks out to me of my college career that was going on externally was sort of the rise of like crowdfunding platforms. This was, in 2012, 2011, like President Obama signed the Jobs Act, which sort of like set out a policy framework for equity crowdfunding and other crowdfunding activities that allowed entrepreneurs to access more capital. So, things like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, which seems pretty commonplace today, were like pretty brand new and kind of a cool concept. So it's like, okay, that's a cool thing. And then sort of parallel to this, I grew up here in Sacramento, California. I'm a huge Sacramento Kings fan. And at the time, this was like when the Kings are they going to Seattle? Or are they going to Anaheim, right? Like they were almost leaving. And I knew, I was like, I love Sacramento, and I know this is a huge opportunity, not only from like as a sports fan perspective, but as like an economic impact on the city. It's really important to have the Kings stay. So I was invested in it in many levels. So as I was sort of coming to the end of my college career, Santa Barbara didn't really have like an honors thesis program or any sort of that thing, but I knew I wanted to sort of produce my own work and have it be sort of at the nexus of like sports, economies, cities, all of that. So I wrote a paper with one of my econ professors, like about the economic impact of sports teams in America. It was super straightforward. Like now that I look back on it, like I was just very bad at coding and running regressions and all that sort of stuff. But I kind of like got my hands a little dirty with like, what makes economies of cities dynamic? Like, do sports teams play a role in it? And it just kind of like got me a little bit of work under my belt that wasn't necessarily like professional experience, but that related to something that I knew I wanted to go do. So I think that was a sort of key thing. During college, I'd been interested in commercial real estate of all things. Like I just love the built environment. And I went and interned for a guy here in Sacramento. His name is Mark Friedman. He's a local real estate developer. But sort of while this was all going on, he ended up throwing his hat right before I got my internship. He threw his hat into the ring to be a minority owner of the Sacramento Kings. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he told me like, you got the internship, and like worlds collided. I get this opportunity, sort of super lucky. And then after school sort of translated that. I was like, hey, I want to go work for the Kings. How do I do this? Got a meeting with the CTO of the Sacramento Kings through that connection, and got offered a 30-hour-a-week internship at the Sacramento Kings. And it was kind of like all my friends were going to like big tech companies or, going to New York or Oracle in San Francisco, right? And like making more money than I would, which I thought was important at the time. I was like, I'm not making as much money as people who were graduating school. But I just knew like Sacramento was the place I needed to be. This was the opportunity that was unique and only like was very connected to my passions. So it's like, people pay thousands of, take out loans to go to business school. Like, why not take like a reduced income now for the potential investment in myself and my future that this would offer?